Millions of American jobs start right here.
America's farmers export over $100 billion of crops and products.
We have the #1 trade surplus of any American industry.
It's as true today
as it has been for generations.
America's farmers grow America.
Brought to you on behalf of America's farmers by Monsanto.
Congressman Rodney Davis, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about your district and the agriculture in it?
You know, my district is the epitome of central Illinois Midwestern agriculture. I'm home to some of the agribusiness giants like ADM and GSI. Right around my district are Growmark, Monsanto, country companies, country insurance, State Farm. But also I'm home to numerous ag implement dealers who rely upon our local agricultural economy to provide the jobs in this sector. And then of course the family farm. You know, some of our farmland is some of the priciest yet most fertile farmland in the world. We're mostly corn and soybeans, and then also some specialty crops in and around the river.
What are the biggest concerns you hear from your ag-related constituents?
Well, they want a farm bill. They want to see 5 years of certainty. I think it's a failure of both Democrats and Republicans in Congress over the years that we haven't seen a long-term farm bill. I think it's absurd, especially during the last year of drought, historic droughts. My farmers want that certainty, but we also understand the need to cut spending in Washington and attack our $16 trillion national debt. And they're willing to give up something. They're willing to give up direct payments so that we get a strengthened crop insurance program. And I had the chance to talk to Secretary Vilsack at one of my hearings a few weeks ago, and he and I both agreed the crop insurance program is working, and indemnities are 50% less than what were estimated during this last drought.
Are there any specific reforms that you do think should happen within the Farm Bill?
Yeah, I mean, we need to make sure that we actually look at the food and nutrition side, find out to ensure that those who need those benefits are getting those benefits, but also those who don't need them and are committing fraud are not able to access those benefits, so that it costs the hardworking taxpayers in my district money that could be spent elsewhere. Some of the other reforms that I want to see are just that strengthened risk management program. I mean, that is the key to a successful farm bill when it comes to my district.
What do you think is the biggest challenge this year to passing a 5-year bill?
Politics. I mean, I think politics is the biggest challenge, and it has been the last few years. You know, there's been a time in Congress, and a time that I worked for a member of Congress, where I saw both parties come together and govern. You know, we saw Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, who couldn't even agree on where to sit on Air Force One 16 years ago, seemingly overnight come together with the balanced budget agreement of 1997. When Congress governs, the American taxpayers win. And right now we have folks in Congress who have never seen Congress actually govern. All they've seen are partisan roll calls and roll calls that are meant to gain political leverage over one side or the other. And that's what has to stop. And when we can stop that, especially at the Ag Committee level, then hopefully that we can address some of the other major issues that need to be addressed as Congress.
Do you think that's why your constituents elected you, to bridge sort of those partisan gaps?
You know, I sure hope so. I think so. My history has been working in a bipartisan way to get things done for constituents in and around central Illinois. As a matter of fact, during my campaign, I had many Democrat officials actually endorse my candidacy, not because I was a Republican, but because they worked with me. I worked with them. I walked into their city hall when, as part of my job was to assist communities. I walked into their city hall and didn't say, "Are you a Democrat mayor or are you a Republican mayor?" I said, "How can we help?" And that was evident, the success of what we were doing in the past, when they came and endorsed my candidacy as soon as I became a candidate.
You also serve on the Transportation Committee as well as the Agriculture Committee, and that locks and dams and our inland waterway systems are a big issue in Illinois. Can you talk about those issues at all and what you're doing to address them?
Yeah, they're huge issues. As a matter of fact, I just co-sponsored 2 pieces of legislation to deal with the navigation channel. One that would have actually, will actually long-term allow the Corps and to establish more public-private partnerships, which will allow our upgrades on major facilities like locks and dams along the Mississippi and Illinois River to get done more quickly. Right now, the way that the core budget is set up, it just takes forever. And it's estimated to take 40 years, even if we started today, to be able to address the upgrades. And that, I think, is long overdue. And it's something also we're going to begin to address during our WARDA negotiations, so that we can actually have a role at the ground level of trying to come up with some new and innovative ideas to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. And when the American taxpayers think of crumbling infrastructure, we have to think of our waterways. Because so much commerce, so much is dedicated to our local economy in central and southwestern Illinois by moving products up and down the river. One thing that folks may not realize are that coal mining jobs in Illinois are reliant upon the Mississippi River Navigation Channel staying open, because government 20 some odd years ago decided that it wasn't cost effective to burn Illinois coal in Illinois because of the sulfur content. So in order to have coal miners working in Montgomery and Macoupin counties in my district, we have to get that coal out onto the open ocean and ship it overseas.
What do you think are the biggest challenges to making these infrastructure improvements here in Congress at the national level?
The biggest challenge is addressing some of the major fiscal issues that our country is facing right now. You've seen with the Senate not passing a budget for 4 years. I mean, that's before the iPad was even invented. As a matter of fact, it's issues like that take all the energy out of the room. And if we can begin to get back to regular order, where the House passes a budget and the Senate passes a budget, and we have some novel concept called a conference committee, where we come together and they're able to work out our differences and put forth a meaningful piece of legislation to deal with our federal fiscal issues, attack our national debt, and balance our budget. When we can do those things, major issues like a farm bill, major issues like a transportation reauthorization and a WARDA bill, immigration reform, all those can be moved from where they're at now in micro status, unfortunately, up to the forefront. And that's how we begin to address some of these major issues here in Congress.
Great. Can you finally tell us a little bit more about your background and what led you here?
Well, you know, I grew up in a small business family. My mom and my dad taught me at a young age while working for them in their restaurant that decisions in Washington, and in my case in Springfield, Illinois, actually had an impact on the way that they do business and their ability to hire teenagers to work their first jobs. That always made an impression on me. So when I went away to school, after I graduated, I told my dad, I want to try public service. You've given me an interest in public policy, and I can always come back and work for the family business, but I'd like to try this out. And a week after I graduated college, I met a guy named John Shimkus, and I've been working for Congressman Shimkus for the last 16 years, and now it's my great honor to be able to serve with him, something that I never would have imagined.
If you could sum up our interview and tell us what your one overall goal would be for your first term, what would that be?
You know, I have two. My two overall goals would be to play a key role in finally passing a long-term farm bill. I mean, again, we went over this earlier, but it is crucial to our agricultural economy in the Midwest and in my district especially. And I also want to play a role in passing a long-term transportation reauthorization package. That's a true economic stimulus. And we can rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, put our trades and labor folks back to work, ensure that our products are able to move on roads and rails and waterways. You know, we can really see our economy grow again.
Congressman Rodney Davis from the 13th District of Illinois, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.